Okay, here we are at week 9, and boy, we're really on the downhill slope to the end of the semester. So keep doing well, and um, and so this week it's kind of a different week. Not a whole lot required, but there's a very important study that you guys are going to be exposed to, and it's the ACE study, the Adverse Childhood Experience Study. And it's one of the largest studies ever done on early childhood experiences, because there was two researchers that were involved in dealing with people at the same time, had the same revelation, and they were working for the CDC and Kaiser Permanente, and they discovered that people that were coming in to see them that were experiencing a variety of problems had one thing in common, and that was their childhood. They not only had one adverse experience, but often multiple adverse experiences. In other words, at one time it was thought that basically children had an adverse childhood experience, something unpleasant that happened to them, some form of abuse or neglect. And so these researchers started to put together this huge study, and they found that people often had more than one adverse experience as they were growing up. And the more adverse experiences they had, the higher the likelihood that they were experiencing difficulties later in their life. So they were abusing alcohol, drugs, they were obese, they were smoking, they were having problems on their jobs. They were having problems in their personal relationships. And then the biggest finding is that they lived on the average 10 years less than their cohort or their contemporaries. So this is a very important study. It doesn't focus primarily on people coming out of poverty. These actually, for the most part, these people were coming out of what we would call middle class experiences. But they had more adverse experiences, and you'll see that it's not just physical or sexual abuse, but there's different types of abuse. And what is it like if you're living in a home where people are experiencing divorce? They're experiencing psychological difficulties themselves as adults, and the children are exposed to that. So I have included the questionnaire, and you can take it and see what your score is. And it doesn't mean this isn't a cause and effect, okay? There's a correlation between adverse childhood experiences and difficulties later in life. So you might have been very resilient and had a very troubling childhood, but might have turned out quite well. So get through that and look at it. I think it's very, very interesting, very, very important as we study developmental psychology. And then there's an article that I want you to read on Lincoln High in Walla Walla, Washington, where they took the ACE study and applied it to their school, where they have students that more likely than not were not going to graduate from high school. So they'd been through a series of programs, had not been able to complete it. And so this is kind of their last chance to get through high school. And when the faculty started to employ different strategies related to an understanding of the ACE experience, they started to have a high success rate with their students. So the key thing to take away from all of this is that people have a story. Every person has a story. And so I had a TA that was working at a soup kitchen, and she used to look at the clients in a certain way. And then one day she had an epiphany. Wow, each one of these people have a story that goes behind why they're here, and all of these stories are very different one from another. So you have your own story, and so maybe especially when we're dealing with children in a school setting, for instance, maybe we need to understand their history. What are they coming to school with? In other words, maybe our first questions need to be, what did you have for breakfast? What went on in your house last night? What's been going on in your house? Who do you live with? And those types of questions before we jump to conclusions and automatically just kick them out of school. So hopefully this is a really great um, study for you to be exposed to, might change your thinking a little bit, and so hopefully you get a lot out of it. So anyway, so that's kind of the focus of this week. Once again, you're doing the activity that's related to the mini lecture, and so I wish you all success, and I hope you enjoy the material and that you gain something from it, and I will see you next week.